Yo. Oh boy, and things, of course, have gone wrong from me setting them up here last night. Wonderful. Properties. There we go. So. Probably should have waited for the song to be finished. It's only got a few more seconds, but anyways. So. Welcome to stream if this is your first time here. Over the weekend, or a day before the weekend really, I was just on Raven Ridge's endpoint, going through chat messages and stuff for, let me actually go there on to where I was reading. I was reading through the rules discussion in the Raven's Nest, which is Raven Ridge Emporium's Discord server, and Brandon Lee published Cartograph under Raven's Ridge Emporium. So, and there was discussion on how the rules and that were portrayed within the world, like how the depletion of dice or increase in dice would be visible on a cartographer. And that just immediately made me think, what if this was just how the world was made? And then I spent the next couple of hours typing. I haven't added anything new. I've only made some grammar corrections up in this area, but as I was getting ready, I discovered, hey, Obsidian can have a PDF thread in it, so that's good to know. You guys can actually see what I'm reading. This is what is here is the updated version, which has corrections in it that as to how to play and stuff. I have the physical copy with me also in my hands. It is likely what I will be going through to find the right page, and then I will bring up that page on the PDF. But so the base premise of the world I have written out so far is everything exists either the world is either flat or a pocket plane, as this kind of relies on the fact that it has the potential to just infinitely expand in either direction, and that isn't exactly possible on a sphere. And since it's fantasy, gravity can still work when it's a flat plane. So everything exists in either a pocket plane or a separate plane of its own. Societies started within pockets within thick, heavy, perpetual fog. That doesn't mean they exist within the fog itself. They exist in pockets where the fog has cleared, and they don't know how they came to be there. But there's pockets where there's visible sky, there's visible ground, there's an area where you can build, there's plant life, all that sort of stuff that you would normally experience. It's fairly large, about the size, on average, it's about the size of a small island, plus a bit of the sea around said island. And that is intentional because those who try walking into the fog come out the other side, like how Vikings and that thought the world was flat, and how historical people thought the world was flat, but occasionally when they sent someone off in one direction and they showed up in the other, they thought they were just crazy. I don't know if that's actually something that happened. It's something that's depicted in media, in stories and stuff, like the example that I just tried to use of that, and said the reason I said Vikings is because the example was from one of the How to Train Your Dragons animated series that was actually good. Astrid said one of her family members was forced to sail off in one direction until they found the edge of the world, but they would keep coming back from the opposite, and they would keep showing up from the opposite direction. That sort of idea where even though things come from the opposite direction, people thought it was flat. So walking into the fog in one direction causes you to come out of the fog on the other side and stuff. When it's some of these pockets are landlocked, so they have no access to, well, I say landlocked, they have access to rivers, and some will have access to rivers, some will have access to lakes, and all that sort of thing. But the ones that primarily wish to expand are going to be those that have less land area. So the islands are the first ones to figure out that what if we can expand what if we use magic to push the fog back, or in some way manipulate the fog to allow us to push it back and create more area. Because they found a piece of land that was peeking out of when they needed to expand, they set sail and they discovered a piece of land that was sticking out of the fog, implying that there was more land, but when they went to go through it, they would just wind up in the ocean on the other side, suddenly. So they started coming up with methods. Started searching for a method of using magic individually at first. Like druids were seeking their own method. Magical practitioners, so like wizards and artificers from D&D, they were seeking their own methods. That sort of thing. But it wasn't until everyone got together and because it got desperate and it implemented parts that was working for them and got rid of the parts that weren't working for them, but others had working for them, and they created the cartography system which is a form of magic that uses paper. Paper-like wizards, rune boxes that kind of like rune rocks for the druidic aspect, which in the form of dice, and inks and charcoal pencils created by the artificers to set everything in place. And that is what all the steps here are. Me going through and translating effectively the rules of Cartograph into here. Into a world sort of sense. This is definitely a setting for Cartograph that will allow it to... That will also allow for it to be a... Okay, when we're wanting to travel to a new location that isn't mapped, or that we've heard rumors of, but we haven't got access to a map that can get to it, and no one's... And the only people that have been to this location were those who could teleport out of it. Because they happen to get lost. And that's why I have in this warning, be extra sure not to leave the map's area if you're the one who... that's what this step primarily is. Because Cartograph's rules is a short journey, the closest locations you can get to within, without having to expend food. So I'd say that's within a day. But you're not going to the closest location, you have to expend a food. So it's like, that's going to be a day, 2 days or so of travel. So you'll be resting within the fog. And that's because a pathway doesn't form in the fog until you get to the next location and it is able to be inked in. I don't know if I do believe that I'm going to add dangers to the fog for when you're traveling through it as well. I don't know what that's going to look like yet though, but that's where I've gotten to thus far and why and how I've gotten to this point. So I need to finish translating stuff into here, and that's what I'll be doing today. But yeah, I also have realized that I am it's very bad because I have very much been procrastinating with putting off working on stream assets still. So whoops. But as well as new profile picture, I should probably after this next weekend that I will either be working on stream assets and the profile picture until they are completed, because they need to be completed before I continue on anything further. But yeah, so okay, so here we have the explanation for channeling. The idea is for this to either be an NPC that you're taking with you, in which case players can't see, or in the case of I've only played D&D, so a lot of the terminology I'm likely to use is going to relate to D&D 5th edition. Background, I'm maybe a background or feat that allows you to have the knowledge, that allows players to have the knowledge to pick up a incomplete map and continue forward with it, or create their own ones as well. But this isn't, I'm not thinking of having this be a standalone class, or a subclass even. Like, it uses parts of every single class of magic in my head, so like the reason you're able to travel through the fog with the map, that would be from divine spellcasters and stuff. wizards and stuff provided supplies of ink, or the specialty inks, the specialty paper, and the specialty charcoal. And they work with artificers to make the inks and the charcoal, because those specifically seem more artificer oriented than wizards. And druids also work with artificers to make the dice. But yeah, you'll notice up here there's future reference. That in here is a document. It is the link to the SRD, so that if I want to go down that path later, I can. But right now, this. So step 1 is explaining how the paper works, that you need to attune the paper, and then the ink, and then use the inks on the parts that glow. On the parts that glow when it's a new map. Channel magic energy into the dice, so that they are able to manipulate the fog and stuff. That doesn't need to be its own step. That can be a part of 2. Like the initial starting out was part of 1. So I'll just quickly go through and make all these. Okay, so rolling the dice and then inking in the places where it lands, and that. Upon completing the tracing, you'll want to channel some magic into the charcoal pencil to... The reason I wanted the charcoal pencil is because the ink would be getting to the final destination safely, and that. And I wanted there to still be a bit of risk when traveling between locations. So, fog's still present. Don't stray too far from your map or your map holder. Map holders can, and don't let your map holder stray too far away from the map as well, because don't let your cartographer stray too far away from the map as well, because they will get yoinked to a random location. This step 3 is basically the food if you go to a location that isn't the closest. And this is the basically what happens while you're traveling, why you need to travel near the cartographer, otherwise you get randomly displaced. But having things live within the fog, that are very alien, that's okay. Just a sec. Let's go. Creatures within the fog. Let's go with that. This is getting to the location and finalizing the path. Step 6. When you go to where whoa. When you're going to a new location, you'll repeat steps. Repeat steps 2 to 5. However, you'll find you'll find your this map's dice pool is 1 less than before, unless you you've performed certain tasks that may either just a sec. I haven't played Cartograph myself. I haven't played Cartograph recently, and I should have probably, when I got this idea, I should have probably done a playthrough by myself. Where it's during the rest phase. Okay, that is page 29. Add 2 because let's go thumbnails. Oh boy. Let's find rest phase in this cycle of play. Here it is. Okay, rest phase. So stuff like this. Yeah. So you can gain a biome die. Is there a way of this doesn't? You can gain a converse it to gain a temporary die. Or there's a third type of die. I'm getting. Okay, third is landmark. Is there landmark in here? No, you can't gain landmarks from rest phases. Landmarks are landmark dice, I believe. You can gain additional landmark dice. True. You can gain landmark dice from cards. Temporaries can be either landmark or biome. Oh wait, there's also wilderness. When you're in the wilderness, you can gain a biome die, you can gain a temporary die, and this wilderness is biomes locations rather than settlement locations. So jokers are used as part of that. However, in terms of play, the DM would be the only one to know the Joker if they're playing this themselves or any of the cards that are drawn. What else? I just actually had a thought I probably should made. I'm just gonna quickly make sure and see if I should not have been showing that on stream. More information. I'm not planning on publishing this. This is purely personal use and stuff, and I'm not planning on republishing the actual book. I'm just giving explanation for how certain aspects affect the world. However, I'm not going to be showing that on stream anymore. I just read. Just to be safe, I am not showing any more than I just did. Because I really should have made sure about that beforehand. Anyways. When you're going to a new location, however, unless you've performed certain tasks beforehand, not unless, however, you'll find the map's dice pool is one less than before. No, that is unless you've performed certain tasks between journeys to new locations. Between arrival and setting out. When a map uses its last dice. It is last dice and it is completed and may not have any new locations added. No, any new paths created using it. If a new map is made and this one is within and the cartographer has access to this, to a completed one of the same area, then the information on the completed map will glow on the incomplete one. That won't be a part of steps, so how that is here. If a new map is made and the cartographer has access to a completed one of the same area, then the information on the completed map will glow on the incomplete one. If a new map overlaps with the complete the map's area but is not the exact same, then if a new map is made and not the cartographer. A completed map of the same area, because it doesn't need to be theirs. So with the completed maps area, but is not the exact same, then the information that would be on the incomplete map flows. Active and inactive, that's what they are. Because hey. Once. Once magical methods were found successful. Oops. Alley cut. Alley cut. Oh boy. I'm typing too fast for it to save. That is not fun. This is the garden. Encountered wild animals. Sending small parties out with them so that when they encountered wild animals, they would be safe. Expected. Unexpected discovery was made early on. I don't know how to spell fallen. Ah, it's always the I before E except after C, except here. Why? I don't understand why the saying I before E except after C exists when so many words like this one exist. Pollen, rain. Unless it's after every letter after C, it is not I before E. Am I completely fine? Am I completely fine? Creatures within the fog. Don't know what these creatures will look like yet. It's definitely... Definitely they'll probably be... look like they're made of fog when they step forward out of it. Size may... Size may be between bear and elephant for the more aggressive or more dangerous ones, whereas smaller ones would be less aggressive, more just thieving, taking supplies. And it would probably relate to the biomes that are around that are not being traveled to. So, when traveling to locations that have very few other locations, whether biome or settlement, very few creatures would that aren't familiar. There would be fewer creatures that are familiar, and it would just be, oh, it comes from the fog, it's primarily fog. Whereas if there's a biome nearby, the fog creature will look like it's a fog variant of a creature that would come from that location. That then also begs the question, how do these fog creatures come into being if all other life exists within these pockets? Ooh. I just had an idea. So, let me just quickly look this up in this rule book, just to see if I'm creating something out of my head completely, or if this is part of resources one. Nope, nope, nope. Specializations. Wait, I don't need to look at the main. Need to look at discoveries. Discoveries, where, I need to actually go read exploration. Okay, how to play, people, exploration phase. What are, actually, let me look at what the discoveries table contains. Discoveries. Discoveries. Red discovery table and black discovery table. Oh boy. I just read the discovery, what an ace on the red discovery table would get. A doorway or portal leads to some unfamiliar or alien place. What otherworldly beings are here? What is anomalous? Is this spelled correctly, or is this a spelling error? Anomalous. It's an actual word. Okay, what does this mean? Can I haven't got a plugin to look it up. Ah. Okay, so just gonna quickly look up on my phone what this means. What is this? Just how you spell anonymous? Define anomalous. Anomaly is what comes to mind. Deviating from adjective definition 1. Deviating from the normal or common order, form, or rule. Yeah, it would be anomalous. Anomalous. And now I'm remembering how to pronounce it. It's not actually sounding weird to me. Oh, that's my own fault. I hate being dyslexic is a pain sometimes. Okay, so let me try reading this again. A doorway or portal leads to some unfamiliar or alien place. What otherworldly beings are here? What is anomalous about your surroundings? Biome dice mark coastlines. Biome dice mark coastlines in your next exploration phase. Ooh, wait a minute. So a quick explanation why that's an ooh. Landmark dice are the ones that usually mark coastlines or rivers, because civilization always needs a water source. So it's a landmark, which is landmark dice results in encampments, towns, cities, settlements. A settlement is a city or town. I believe it's your choice. I need to go read what that one is again. How to play. Oh. Dice pool. No prompts. Nope. Where? Oh, where? That's that. Opening scene. Resource. Okay, so basics. Your cartographer. What is the difference between a settlement and a city? Oh, the prompts. Dice pool. Well, again, exploration phase. Phase action. What is I forget where the settlement stuff is in this. Just a sec, let me see. Is settlement actually its own thing, and I've just ruled it wrongly in the past? Or was it dependent on the rulings that on the setting I had set myself in, that settlements weren't exactly a thing? Names, encampments names, town names, city names. No, settlements aren't a thing on the table, so what? Okay, so I have just forgotten where it's located. Okay, so Nope, that's cycle of play. Settlement. A settlement refers to any kind of location that houses people. Mechanically, this is either an encampment, town, or city. Yes, okay, so settlement is your choice out of the previous 3, because 1 is nothing. But 6 is discovery, and discoveries can potentially be ruined locations. So those sorts of locations would be... So when a discovery is a ruined settlement... When a discovery is a ruined settlement, it would be a settlement that got consumed by the fog for some reason, I believe. Or it could be... It could, of course, lead to its own destruction. That's also a possibility. So... However... And my brain's gone down a rabbit hole. What is anomalous about your surroundings? That can complete... Depending on how you rule that, you may be starting a new map. Or you or you're able to go somewhere. If you go through the portal, you may be able to... You either start a new map from whatever location this is, because that location that the portal leads to is not on your map, or you can choose another settlement that portal leads to. And that is how they were... Some people figured out... Ooh, some people figured out... No, because it... Okay, so... If some cartographers that set out made sure that they knew the teleportation spell, either teleportation circle or teleport itself, so that they can return home whenever they please, because they won't have a path there. Because they intentionally went off and caused problems without their first map by going into the fog. So, creatures... But I'm getting sidetracked. I'm supposed to be coming up with creatures within the fog. Okay, however, in the depths of the fog, it was home to much more dangerous creatures that, after a couple of early successful short-distance expeditions, were discovered by groups that wanted to see how far they could travel in one go. Some were attacked while others were never... Some turned Okay, so... Danger level. Tiny. Tiny friends. Size and alright. Level. Large plus friends. That's just gonna be any size upwards. And now that's how I'm planning on breaking down it, but don't really have any idea for that now. Let's actually create a new node, because elves, humans, maybe dwarves come before elves. Hi Chandu, welcome to the stream. And thanks for the follow. I'm currently... Would you like an explanation for what I'm working on and stuff? Thanks. Yeah. Um. I have so many vaults within Obsidian. It's ridiculous, but today's project I've labeled Cartographers of Creation. It's basically a fantasy world where the creation of the world is quite literally with just a magic system that uses the rules of a solo role-playing game called Cartograph that I have. Ah, that's fair. I often misread things that are pretty closely worded together. So, yeah. I do like cryptography. I'm not all that good at it though. I'm still learning. So, but basically I've throughout the stream I've been just world building and typing out parts of how to turn a cartograph's rules into a magic system for that allows that where civilizations and stuff initially started within pockets completely surrounded by fog that when you try traveling through the fog you come out the other side of the pocket you start from, so still wind up with people heading off in one direction coming back from the other sort of thing that you'd expect from a spherical world. However, when you start running out of room within those pockets, you kind of want to expand the fog a bit and push back on it. So, a variety of magic users got together and found a way of, and in very desperate needs, created magical items that would allow for pushing back the fog to explore what is potentially already in the fog. They were very much relying on the fact that the fog had stuff in it, which they were basing off the fact that they encountered creatures from within the fog on the edges. It was relatively peaceful creatures at the edge. But yeah, I had this idea a few days ago. Spent 2 hours writing it out, and then I had to go to bed. And then since then, I've been holding off on writing anything more because I wanted to work on it on stream as my first world building stream. So yeah, I have a lot of worlds that I've just sort of been world building and stuff. Yeah. So. Anyways. Yeah. Feel free to stick around if you want to, or go find some if you're wanting to watch cryptography. No real harm. Just nice to see you, and thanks for the follow. Oops. Cool. Okay, so dwarves, elves, humans, orcs, do sprites / fairies. What other So A, B, C, D, E. Goblins will go in here. Goblins. Okay, so dwarves, elves, goblins, humans, orcs, sprites, and fairies. Peoples of the Fog. That's a better name for it. Okay, so when you think fantasy, you think elves, orcs, dwarves. What else? Obviously humans. Fairies. Goblins. Kobolds. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. Why was, you know... Hopefully that stops detecting that as well. Forget what tieflings included in the 5ESRD. Let's just quickly check. Oh boy, things have crashed. Oh. Things crashed. Everything goes wrong when things clash. Okay. I'm opening Obsidian. And do I need to... Yep, I need to Have I forgotten to turn on the plugin that allows that to be opened within? Yes, I have. That's why. That's my problem. Or is it that I haven't got that? Do that. Forces that to be a click only. Okay, so. And then here. Or I could just download this. Let's actually download this and so that it's not constantly a link. And I can search it for the information I need. Close. You. Oh, brilliant. What's going on? Okay, so. What was that? Delete that one. Delete. There we go. Everything is fine. Everything is safe. Wonderful. And now that this is downloaded, oh boy. 2 pages. Can I search within this? Yes, I can. Are tieflings part of this? Yes, they are. Okay, it is. They are safe to be used. By name. Otherwise, they were gonna be half demons. Or I'd have to come up with a name for that. Anyways, tieflings. Or half earth fights. So it's like similar to Genasi. That's don't believe they... Oh, I don't need that anymore, actually. Wait. This one. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, they don't have our copper. That's what I thought. What races do they have? Dwarves, elves, halflings. Okay, so these two. Ooh. Adding monsters of... Wait. Because it looks strange when there's... Actually. Maintain consistency. Grab that, bring that over here. And let's also start tagging. Oh. Linking things. always update. Open this back up. Right, there it is. Okay, so what is it? Flying speed. Trying to find if they have dragon wings. Okay. Okay, so in here it has stuff that gives you flying speed. So if I were to do stuff for 5e with this, like, I would have to create my own avian species. But let's just right now call them avian. That's a dictionary for you. Okay, so Driving. And driving at the edges. Driving at the edges of the untouched. Mm. Mm. cartographers at the core of their civilizations. Maintain. If ever information failed to be it's not one. Need to remember that. If ever information failed to be transferred to a new map before the last map holding it deteriorated, the fog would turn to areas of lost formation. Not breathing, thriving. Edges of the untouched. Fog. Welcome in, Raiders. Hey, Creative Mishmash, how was your stream? It's going good. I've been as an explanation to you and those who raided in with you. I've been taking it. I've been taking the rules for a solo map making tabletop RPG called Cartograph, and you and implement and wording them out and implementing them into a world where that is how the world is created or expanded. So civilizations started with it surrounded by pockets of very thick fog that when you try entering it from one direction, you come out the other side. Eventually, you run out of space within your pocket of fog, and the arcane practitioners started looking for ways of expanding the fog and that. So initially, they all drew those who did natural magic, divine magic, and arcane magic all were trying separately, but only once they got together when things got desperate did they come up with a solution that would allow for expansion to actually happen, leading to the creation of cartographers who use magical inks, papers, and dice to create maps that they and by having locations randomly allocated by the dice, but they still have to form the paths through the fog, which can be dangerous in itself. And yeah, and they sometimes stumble across other societies within the fog, and that haven't gotten to the point of needing to expand yet. Yeah, I really enjoy Cartograph. It is fun. It uses d6s and cards. I highly recommend it. I should I am not at all sponsored by it, but I definitely did back the Kickstarter for it. How do I share a? Here. I'm gonna paste the link to it in chat for anyone who wants to go check it out. I highly recommend it. It is very much fun, very good for helping world building and stuff. Okay. Go rest up. And that. And welcome in the rest of you who were joined in that raid. It is definitely. Feel free to lurk around if you also have to go. Yeah. If you also have a go, then I hope you have a good rest of your days or start of your days, depending on where you are. But yeah. So the pocket, I clearly have a D&D bias for those who didn't know. That's why most of these are D&D races. However, it is a fantasy world, so it makes sense for orcs, elves, goblins, and dwarves to be in there. Right? sprites, well, tieflings are the only one that tieflings are the only ones that are specifically D&D. Kobolds, another fantasy norm. The halves, that's more just to how I view half races, half races and stuff is in terms of fantasy. When it's stuff, when you're taking a long-lived race, when you're the child of a long-lived race and a short-lived race, like a number of half-elves tend to be, you're going to outlive most of one side of your family and die before the other half does. So it's very much, you feel different, but you feel a part of both. So having them as distinct stats makes sense because you're going to live longer, thus you're going to be able to get different skills and stuff than what some of the short-lived ones won't have. But also by actually being willing to interact with humans and other short-lived races, unlike elves tend to be written as. Yeah, that sort of thing. It's basically those who are half races, they're more willing to interact with other cultures than those like orcs. They also tend to be depicted as viewing themselves as superior and thus beating down and being more aggressive. If that is treated as integral to who they are, or integral to their genetics, don't think that's right. Their culture, though, their culture is very much based around the strong, and thus that is why orcs are more likely to be stronger, but because that's the sort of environment they grow up in. I have purchased or backed a Kickstarter that. No, I have purchased a couple different third-party resources for D&D that relate to doing mixed races and stuff, like having mixed parentage, where it's some stuff, the stuff that is physical isn't the only thing you get from your parents. You also get cultural stuff, and where you're raised is important. So that's why I'm like, being half it is fine to be written, as long as you do it respectfully. And I will try to do it respectfully. If anyone ever has fault, I will have a look at it and talk it through with them and explain my rationale behind anything they have a problem with and listen to what they have to say. But pleasing everyone is not possible, so. And besides, most of this stuff is primarily for me, and I'm just writing it out on stream because to potentially inspire other people to take some of the ideas I have and run with it. These also I transferred from the original, so they no longer need to be so small. This is how I'm breaking down the different creatures that exist within the fog specifically, because not all of them are going to be dangerous, just like animals in the real world. Not all of them are going to be friendly either, because of the dangers of the horrific injuries that some of the early cartographer groups experienced when they first went in deep into the fog, and like multiple days of travel, sort of. journeys, they encountered hostiles for the first time. Friendly sort of things, or just... There should probably be a neutral, because there's definitely going to be some that just steal, don't do any physical harm, they just steal and run. So, yeah, I'm gonna just quickly add that into the middle here. See? There. And go back and neutral. Du, 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 du. There we go. So this section will be for stuff like dogs, horses, insects that just want to be left alone. The neutrals will be for the stuff like... what sort of things? Stuff like raccoons. Raccoons can be dangerous, but if you leave them alone, they're just gonna steal your rubbish. And then this is for stuff like lions and tigers and bears, but specific to the fog that surrounds. So, yeah. The reason this is separate from there we go. Now that it's a tab, open up. There we go. And let's get that to a single page because I can't read that as a double. The reason I haven't got Cartograph or Pix or whatever D&D doesn't have a copyright over the word fairies, so that's why it's fights or fairies. I haven't decided on which I'd want to call it. Can't do Aarakocra though. That's a D&D name. So avians. And this would also allow me to put make my own tweaks, because I definitely do have some issues with D&D's depiction, funneling of the features for their birds. For their bird folk. Avians. Because, I haven't got the taxi on here either. Or a cat race. That would fall under F. I may want to come up with a better name for that. But yeah, I'm not planning on working on that. Creatures within a fog. I changed it to... Let's keep consistency with that so that... And monsters. There are 3 stages of how oh my goodness, I'm so far down. Get that all the way back up. Races are up here. I was just checking to make sure The reason I was so far down is because I was checking to see if flight speed was a thing in here so that I could do avian races. And it is. I can also do fairies with flight speed. And that should not be there. It should be here. Okay. Okay, so let us see. Okay, so rules of the dice translated our society in forget. I want to refer to this similar to the waxing and waning of the moon, but I forget which is which. Waxing moon. The moon will be waxing at the cycle, increasing how much of it you can see lit up at night. Okay, so waxing of cartography. I'm waning. I have this single N. Waning, because it goes from intrigue, adventure, everything's amazing, to don't really need to expand into the fog anymore. But though some people do at the edges. Cartography goes from expanding the world to having it collapse in. It goes from expanding the world to maintaining it and stuff. And eventually at the edges, if people don't keep picking up the profession, certain maps just deteriorate without any of the information being passed on. Some places either this is definitely intriguing. Ideas flowing for what I now have ideas for a world where where it's been used to expand. These need to be 3s. Oh wait. No, that one needs to be a 3. Because it's supposed to be... No, it's its own thing. It's a 1. Here, cartographers become everything. They become the flagships of expansion. They become necessary for wars with the other groups that happen to have the explorers happen to have learned cartography off of those who jumped out into the unknown without wanting to return and created separate networks and stuff. Then there's also those who didn't resort to cartography, but instead resorted to opening portals to what they thought were other worlds, but was in fact same world, just different location. Different pocket in the fog. Huh. So, question is, what to work on? Nothing's really set in stone. Mm. So this would be constantly making temporary maps to get behind and lines. Okay. 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 I need this up right now. Yeah. I think I've hit my creative limit for today. My brain is foggy, ironically, and I'm having a hard time focusing on anything that I'm now writing, so, or any thoughts that are coming to mind. So I'm gonna call it for stream. Let's find someone to raid. Let's see. World building. Let's throw you into someone who may be world building. Wait. That didn't work. Have I been in the wrong category? Probably, yeah. Being only two other channels currently live with world building. In writing and reading and art. Oh well. Noted for next time, however, this did feel right since this is for a game. Let's just see. Let's see who. Let's throw you into it. Let's see who's in the art category that I could throw you to. Or is there any suggestions from chatter as to where I could send you all? I'm gonna send you over to Nisa. I'm unable to raid Nisa. Okay, never mind. Oh, I could just. Since that one didn't work out, I say I'ma just let you go off to whatever you're going to be up to. Hope you have a good day. Have a good rest of your day. Have a good evening. Whatever it is you get up to.